Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fam. We are back for some MRL racing action. It is Wednesday, which means it's time for the Tier 2 Racing Division. It is the fourth round of action. We're here around Belgium or Spa. And joining me for the intense action, as always, well, Unicorn, how you doing?
Yes, Jeff, thank you. I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to this one, Spa. It's just one of those circuits you love to see. It's such an iconic circuit, such a long circuit as well. It makes qualifying that little bit more difficult than the shorter tracks, and all of this combined, obviously, we could see rain. All of these factors, safety cars, etc., make coming to Spa a very, very exciting week. And well, Tier 2, it's been an exciting division so far. We'll see how it shakes out tonight.
Definitely, of course, it is one of many circuits on this 15 circuit calendar, and we have Italy coming through next week just as we're visiting Italy for this weekend's Grand Prix. And we have Japan, Britain, Azerbaijan, Hungary, Singapore, France, Spain, as well as Austria, Mexico for the penultimate round, and then the finale in Brazil, all on the menu for Season 5. With that said, let's take a look at the standings as everybody wants to know where things stand heading into round 4. And I'll tell you something, Dason off to a very good lead right now, 75 points for him in the Williams. Dougie Falcons with 37. Yagswol is third position with 31 points in this championship, very tight. 4 drivers remain scoreless here as we have a Desi, Amir Barlos, Angel Arias, and Lewis, all without points, 17 through 20. And of course, every team in this Constructors Championship has scored points, which is nice to see. We've had a couple of McLaren shortages in some grids this season so far, but other than that, everyone's scored points. And of course, with that, we'll be just about ready to go racing here for 22 laps and an 18-minute qualifying in Belgium. I'm very, very excited for this. We saw some thrilling racing this week. We've had 4 races as we come into this Tier 2 race. We had, of course, Tier 4, Tier 3, and the 2 Americas divisions, Tiers 2 and 1. And just great racing. America's Tier 1 actually started with wet conditions yesterday, albeit on the slick tires. So I wonder if we'll see any dynamics like that unfold for us in Belgium today, Unicorn.
Yeah, and things like that make conditions very tricky because as you get throughout the race, obviously those tires are going to degrade, and when it feels slippery already, it makes you question: is it tire degradation? Is it the weather changing? So having those dynamics always makes it interesting on the weather front, on the strategy front. But safety cars have done that already around here. It's such a long lap as well that if you make the wrong pit stop choice, it can be much more costly than a shorter track. So strategy is very important here, but of course raw pace is as well, because if you can tear away at the front, get out of the DRS range, then you should be all right. But we saw plenty of spins, people losing out on huge haulers of points due to late mistakes. So for all of these things, it's what makes Spa, and we'll just see how it goes here tonight.
Yeah, definitely Spa. I think it's a favorite. I think that goes without saying. It's an iconic circuit, but a lot of these drivers, as much as they love it, they also find it to be quite intimidating, given the risks that can be taken and some of the situations you can find yourself in around this circuit, especially if you should come wheel to wheel. And in those situations, we've seen already some drivers having to back out, going up through Eau Rouge and Rédillon, and we've seen a lot of drag racing through down into Le Combe, out of the Kemmel Strait, of course, too.
Yeah, we're just getting everyone readied up now. So qualifying will start in just a moment, and obviously that's what we want to see, get things underway. Obviously wet qualifying as well. All of these things, if it's wet in the qualifying, dry in the race, setups become a little bit more confusing. What do you pick? Do you try and create some sort of hybrid on the fly? It's all very possible here at Spa. It's a very dynamic track in these games. It's not like Bahrain that we've seen previously, where you're guaranteed pretty much dry weather throughout, of course. But here we go. We've got the countdown reaches 0. We're loading in, and qualifying is set to start any moment now.
There we have it, loading screen. All the drivers loading in. We have Yags. We'll go down through the grid once we get into formation here. But of course, everybody tuning in, thanks for coming. It's Tier 2. My name's Stryfium. Joining me is Unicorn from the UK. And share the stream. Tell your friends. Qualifying has begun. And guess what? It is raining. Yes. Ha ha ha. The drivers aren't going to be saying that. But yeah.
Yeah, intermediates all around. No one is going to be thrilled about that one in the paddock, unless, you know, of course, you consider yourself a rain specialist. There are a few drivers who like to thrive a little bit in the rain and, you know, might pick up a few more points than they usually would in the dry, and you like to see that come into play. But intermediates right now, obviously, we can't see the forecast not only for this session, but the next session, and it could dry out by the end of qualifying. It is 18 minutes, and whilst that's not long here at Spa, it is long enough in terms of the game to create that dry track. So Alex Bitto's actually just toyed with the wet side here, so maybe it's looking to get worse potentially. But as of right now, intermediates all around, and we'll just see what everyone goes for. But if it is going to dry out later in the session, these laps pretty much irrelevant. If it's going to get wetter though, because it's still raining now, that means these sometimes your bankers in this sort of thing don't become your bankers. They become the pole lap time. So all of this is very important to get right, and you really can't afford early mistakes here.
One thing, Alex Bitto reserving today. I think this is the first drive he's had all season. We'll take you through the grid. We have 20 drivers with us this evening. Starting from top to bottom on the timing tower, we have Yagswol, Kai, Bushy Ants, Titan Ash, Psycho, Vincent Nyquist, Sandako Di Lignano there with Mr. Jake as well in the other half. Azir, Tim, Adezi, we have Will Gibson with us, Cotters, Genji, Dougie Falcons, Mr. Yoda, Dason, Pro to Go, of course, again mentioning Mr. Bitto, Noel Carlman. Now, interestingly enough, we have Genji here. He is the first runner out.
Yeah, the Ferrari first out onto the track, tied with his teammates right now in the championship. 6 points apiece there, and definitely points available. Both drivers, they haven't had too bad of races. They've just lost out on the high scoring points positions, but we'll see what the Ferrari here can do in the wet weather. He's beaten everyone else out by quite a substantial amount. Everyone else sort of bunched up in the second sector right now, whereas Genji just sort of carving his way through the rain right now. I shouldn't think a dry line is anywhere close to forming at this point. So it won't be costing Genji anything being the first out, really.
It is looking quite grim, to be fair. Not super heavy rain, but far from ideal to say the least.
Yeah, and obviously that's going to slow down the lap times even more as well. And we mentioned how difficult it is to get 3 runs in at Spa, especially if you make a mistake on one. This is just going to elongate your lap time, make that time constraint even tougher. But here we go, then on board with the Ferrari for his first flying lap, and obviously the first flying lap of the session. Down into turn 1, La Source. Nicely done through there. Careful on the power on the curbing, especially in the wet conditions. A little bit shaky, but nothing too bad as he comes through the slight right-hander of turn 2 into, of course, Eau Rouge Redelion in the wet conditions. Nicely done through there, just eases the car through, and nothing bad to speak of as he comes onto the Kemmel Straight, flying now towards Les Combes. 7, 8, and 9. This tricky set of turns where overtaking is usually plentiful during a race. We'll see what sort of conditions we get when we get into the 22 laps, but again, no problems for Genji here, who is not letting the wet conditions get to him as he comes through now. Turn 10, this long right-hander here. Just opening the track up a little bit, not quite going all the way to the edge, sliding the rear out and getting it back through into turn 11, but he would have lost a little bit of time there using that sort of green AstroTurf on the outside of the track there. We see a lot of drivers put their right wheels onto that. You can keep the left wheels inside the track limits. Through on now into 13. And still, apart from that one little mistake through turn 10, a very well put together lap for the Ferrari. And again, you just need to get a lap time in these early stages, because if the conditions do get worse as he slides a little bit on the exit of 15 through 16 now, And coming up to the last few corners now through 17, Blanchimont, this fast left-hander, still, even in these conditions, 193, 194 miles an hour through 18. He's still continuously flat out through those left-handers into the heavy braking zone that is the bus stop chicane. The last two corners, 19, switching it left for 20. A little bit of correction there, missed the apex slightly, but still in these conditions, he'll be happy just to have got a lap in, and it's a 151.8 to open things up.
Yeah, let's now take a look to see who else can get a valid lap through, because that is one thing everyone going to be struggling here in these qualifying conditions. It's going to be Tim at 52.860. Next to the line behind him was Kai, who jumps him 52.039. A fourth run comes in from the other Alfa Romeo of Cotters, who's here in a reserve capacity this evening for the Alfa Romeo squad. We saw him in the Tier 3 division yesterday. He collected some points in that division as well. Jake is through at 52.829 as we have 5 times onto the board. Dayson, provisional pole. The Williams, a 51.565 here with just about 7 now times on the board. There has been an issue. Excuse me, that is a Ferrari out of this qualifying. Genji.
Yes, by the looks of it, the car doesn't look awful. It's bounced off the inside wall, I think, coming out of turn 9, because it's sat in the middle of the track. It's facing the right way, though, which is what's confusing me the most. But the front wing completely off the car, and it looked like the front right suspension was broken as well, hence the retirement, as Noel goes 6th quickest there. But very unfortunate. A good time for Genji as well. Apart from Dayson, the championship leader, no one beat that 151.8. So a strong time, 2/10 clear of everyone else. The question is now, how well will it stick? Because as we go through the session, he is going to drop. He has nowhere to go but down. As Tim there, he's missing his entire front wing. What's happened to the Aston Martin? He's invalidated his, again, probably his in-lap, but
Cotters has had a spin.
Now.
Cotters has also had an issue in the Alfa Romeo as Vincent Nyquist pushes by, moving fast and flying in the Ferrari. What a qualifying. This has been a lot of drivers struggling, as mentioned, and we've been told that it might just be a dry campaign through in the race. So, free tire choice through the entirety of the grid could shake things up. There goes Vincent. 51.779 is the run from the Ferrari.
Yeah, nicely done there. You know, bumps his teammate down a place, but I don't think he'll mind if his teammate is going to be competitive on the day. Obviously, with the dry campaign, like you mentioned, if we do see that qualifying's wet, race is dry, what setup do you go for? You don't want to lose out too much here as the McLarens come in. Ty and Ash goes 2nd, and Aditi goes 4th. Very nicely done from the pair of them. Very close together as well. So I don't know whether that was intentional.
Rolling in formation, it would appear.
But they've come through very nicely. They've not hindered each other's laps, and well, whether that was teamwork or just pure coincidence, they've done a very nice job to get both of their cars on the front 2 rows at the moment. Obviously, still early days, but you look at the McLaren squad, 21 points scored between them. If they were to finish anywhere close to 2nd and 4th, they would be very, very happy.
Oh, one thing right now.
Oh, that's not something you want to be happy about. DC's lost it coming out of turn 9.
Uh-oh. That is very, very unfortunate. You can see a wheel on circuit there. We just saw it. You can maybe still see it here on the backdrop. Sindako comes through. That was from Genji earlier in the Ferrari.
Yeah, very unfortunate for him to have had that crash. I'm not seeing the wheel that remains, it would seem, coming out of turn 9, but that is, you know, pretty much exactly where he crashed. So I imagine he did a very similar thing, maybe just a little bit faster, spun the car around, which would explain why he was facing the right way after the incident. But either way, that corner already causing some problems. That's in the wet, though. We haven't seen too many issues through there in the dry. It's more so been isolated spins elsewhere, but it has just been that isolated spins here at Spa. Will Gibson now crosses. He improves by 0.6 into 9th. So that tells me, Jeff, the track is drying. I think it's still raining very slightly, but the track is getting better, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right here, and I'm just on with Mr. Yagswell, who has a good position in this championship presently, pushing down through Sector 2. Just trying to keep things on track, trying to keep things legit as we come down, and doesn't want to invalidate, doesn't want to run things too wide. He just wants to get a lap time in here.
Yeah, getting that lap time in is critical, but again, you want to time these runs so that you're at the right time. And to be honest, the Axial, you might have, smashed this out of the park, because going a little bit later here, usually at Spa, leaves you a little bit vulnerable, because obviously you have a limited amount of time. But if you go a little bit later here, as the conditions improve, well, you don't waste any time in that first one. You can get out a little bit earlier than people's sort of middle run, and as such get a bit more of an advantage in terms of when you do your lap time. It's not going to be huge, but like you said, he's got a decent championship position. He should be able to get up into, I'd expect, top 5 from him here on this lap, given the time he's done it in the session, if not higher. And well, there it is. It's P1 for the time being by half a second, a 151 flat. And if that's not a sign that the track is getting better, I don't know what is, as Dayson's on an outlap, Kai's on an outlap, Vincent's out again. Sindarko is still lapping, it would seem, but he's invalidated, so...
Well, I think it's stopped drying entirely. I genuinely think it has. I don't think there's any rain actually dropping. Well, maybe in Sector 3. But not in Sector 1.
Yeah, it's definitely not time for dries, but... There's a risk here that you can take, because it's a 2-minute lap near enough. How long do you want to risk staying in that pit lane in the hopes that you can time it just right to get a lap in on softs? If that's possible at the end. Right now, you can't do that. The track is still, you can see the surface water still there. And if you went out on inters now and did a flying lap, I don't think you would have enough time.
Yeah.
But if you wait in the pit lane right now, there's a gamble that it could dry out fast enough and you get on softs. You'd have to really risk it and go out with like 2.5, 3 minutes left in the session max. And if it doesn't work,
that's a retirement on track.
So.
Excuse me. Titan Ash gonna give us a view here. That is the Red Bull Yagswol on his in lap after setting provisional pole position. Well, he's not going to be getting anything better than a 51.010 here.
Provisional pole, evidently a little bit cursed here at Spa. It's the second time the driver we've had up there in that top spot has retired on their in lap. First Genji, now Yagswol, of course.
Yeah, not a good evening for the pole sitter.
But decent, having so far done very nicely in this qualifying session. Through in the Williams, coming out of sector 2. He's getting very well. He's just a little bit shaky off the curb there. Not through 15 into 16, but this track difficult in the best of conditions here in the wet. Really not ideal. He's up 3/10, though right now that would not be enough to dethrone Yagswol, but if the track is getting better, the bus stop chicane should be a little bit faster. So is there 2/10 to be found in this final sector for him? 19-20, nicely done through there for the Williams. As his teammate just goes fourth fastest. Dayson
he doesn't go into. Yeah, he doesn't go quick enough to get Yags, but he's running again. He's chaining the laps on the inners, which is something I'm sure you and I have seen many a time in these qualifyings.
Yeah, and it sometimes works, and he's not gambling, like I said. It looks like there might be a couple of drivers who are going to take that gamble, like Kai, Vincent. They're both on the softs right now in the pit lane. And I suspect there is a little bit of desync as well, so they might come out later than we would expect them, maybe with, 1.5, 2 minutes, as Dayson has a big slide through turn 9.
Just jumping in with a 0 right now, as it looks like he's flying on the inners, and he's looking to improve a 52.489. He'll be coming through to the split in just a moment. It's on half a second. That can shoot him up into the top 10 with ease. Vincent Nyquist with the soft selected there. Psycho at the bottom of this grid as well. with that tire selected.
It stopped raining, but it still looks damp out on track. But Azir's going to drop his lap. So, oh, well, he's tapped the
Yeah,
rear wheel.
I just watched him catch that wall on the way in.
It's done similar to what Kimi Raikkonen did here not too long ago. And all the conditions there weren't exactly pretty either. But Yoda now selecting the softs, going back to the inters. Everyone's toying with the idea, I think. It's just a case of, do you go for that gamble?
Well, I
It's
imagine...
a really risky strategy.
Let's see now. Vincent Nyquist, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Psycho's out. He's spun on the way out of the...
lost it.
Coming up the hill. Let's see Vincent. Vincent's moving up the hill. He's on the softs as well. Does he have issues? Yes, he does. There goes the Ferrari.
I'm very confused. I don't know why you would come out at this stage. The track is evidently not dry, and you risk a retirement now. It is, late in the qualifying session, but there's still a few moments to wait and then decide whether to come out on inters or not. There are cars on track. They will be able to see, if they're not even watching the stream, because obviously they could watch us broadcasting it a little bit delayed, but in the pit lane you can watch the other drivers on boards and you'll be able to see the live track conditions, and they've come out here on the wrong tire, and I think that is going to inform a lot more people. You know what? I'm just going to stay on the intermediate tires. The Psycho goes again. The Mercedes, well, he's lost his front wing. Well, at least part of it. The end plates come off on the left-hand side. And that's pretty much qualifying over.
This is our second really shaken up qualifying. We saw one yesterday in the Tier 3 division. We're seeing it again in the Tier 2 division, where weather really liking, that monkey wrench effect that it throws in.
Vincent's just had an absolutely massive crash drift. Tim is about to come through this, but the Ferrari, I saw that he's completely blocking the track there. He just flew out of turn 14 and did a complete pirouette into the wall, and there was nothing going to stop that car from retiring. That was a huge crash for him. And, well, the gamble certainly hasn't paid off yet for the two drivers that went for the softs.
Definitely not. Definitely not. The spins, the crashes, really setting these issues. We've got Tim now. He'll be coming to the line. Will he be able to improve a 52.860? Yes, he does. He improves a 52.139 now, or 193. 14th position for him.
Kai's had a problem on his lap, and he's just waiting now on the outside, missing the right end plate off of his car.
Will Gibson flying. Dougie Falcon's flying.
Yeah, well, Will Gibson invalidates and goes very wide as well, coming out of 14. Also, we're pointing out someone coming across in the chat. Well, we do appreciate when you give us insights into these things. Dayton apparently got held because Protego, his teammate, was coming out of the pit lane, and as such, he doesn't think he's got time to go for another lap. We can't see how many seconds there are left on the clock. His teammates made it. Dayton right now yet to cross the line. Checkered flags are now appearing, so I think he might be pretty much bang on with that. He is done. Noel Coleman as well. He hasn't made it to the line, not by a lot, but he's missed out just about here. And when you time it right on these late runs,
there's a lot to find.
Usually means, yeah, exactly, in these wet weather conditions. And I'm looking now. Alex Bitto, I think, is the last person who got across that's still on a valid lap. We'll see what the Alpine can do. He's up 6/10 in Sector 1 stuff. This is huge. The track really improving now. But there's a lot more people than just Alex Bitto out on flyers.
Tight Nash moving, Protego moving. Dougie Falcons flies into third with a 51.318 in this very, very dynamic qualifying session with the weather. Protego will be looking to maybe find something to beat that. We'll have to see. Tight Nash will come through before Protego.
Tim's just slotted himself into ninth on 151.755, just behind a Dizzy there.
Titan on the way in.
Beto, big problem.
Sindako with a big slide coming out of turn 19. He will improve the 4th position, bumping down Titan. Pro to go. What can he find to the line? He will not find any improvement. A Desi in the McLaren. He does not find any improvement. And then Alex Bitto will be the last driver to now cross the line. What is it for the Spaniard? It will be an improvement, but I don't think it moved him anywhere.
Well, he's got no front wing striff. He really struggled. He was up so much through the first sector. Second sector, I think he lost a couple of hundredths. Just coming out of it, just through 16, touched the wall a little bit. No real problem. He was wide through 15 as well, but again, nothing too bad. But then he lost his entire front wing coming out of turn 18, just hitting the wall on the left through that fast straight way before bus stop. Very, unlikely place to have an incident. The wet weather obviously just catching him out there, but as such, lost his entire front wing. And I don't think, like you said, he will have found anything for the Alpines, and he'll start 19th. They had a Psycho who didn't set a time here, apparently, but it's Yagziol on pole.
Jason Dougie there as well. What a top 3, all from your neck of the woods.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, Mercedes as well, going with that sort of British faith. We'll see how that pans out for them next year, but the Brits here doing very nicely as well, as we just wait for everyone to load in. And then, of course, we're going to go for 22 laps in the dry, it would seem. There's no rain as of right now.
That's always, I suppose, when you have the dynamic conditions subject to change, and we've seen safety cars deployed here in Spa, and we've seen safety cars prolong races to the point where those conditions can very well enter the scenario, and that's especially something that, well, what we already saw in qualifying can really shake things up, especially when you go up that hill. And now we have, oh my, massive shout out to Mr. It's Maxim B. He came in last night with 10 gifted subs. He's coming again with another 5. And thank you so much to you for the 5 Tier 1 gifted subs to the community. And congratulations, everybody. We are here in formation for round 4 of the Tier 2 MRL division. Yagsol, Dason, Dougie, Falcons, our top 3 after qualifying. We have Sindako, who has opted for the mediums in 4th. And, of course, we have Titan Ash starting out of the, well, within the top 5. Big shout out to Paula Brady with the 200 bits. Thank you very much for the bits, and thank you everybody tuning in tonight for all of the support. It's so greatly appreciated, and man, oh man, am I ever excited for this race following the epic race from the Tier 1 Americas division last night. Of course, Unicorn, why don't you take us through the rest of this grid here, lining up for 22 laps of intensity.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we mentioned, Yagswell and Dason lining up on the front row there in P1 and P2. Dougie Falcons behind them. All 3 on the soft. Remember, everyone here has free tire choice given the wet qualifying. And Sindako, first person to really take advantage of that. He starts on the mediums in 4th, ahead of Titan Ash in 5th, with Pro to go and Kai behind him. And Desi in the McLaren starts on the mediums, with Tim behind him in the Aston Martin. Vincent sandwiches the Aston Martin in between 2 medium runners. The Ferrari driver also going for the yellow wall compound. Then Azir starts 11th. Genji, after crashing out in qualifying, miraculously stays 12th. That was a very good time from him in the early stages, beaten out as everyone starts to get faster and faster with the qualifying drive, but still ahead of multiple drivers here. Starts 12th. Noel Coleman starts 13th ahead of Yoda. Bushian starts on the mediums in 15th. Will Gibson starts on the soft in 16th for Alpha Tauri. And we have Jake and Codders on the mediums in 17th and 18th. And Alex Bitto in the Alpine starts 19th ahead of Psycho, who didn't set a time in qualifying in the Mercedes. And like I said, there's only 6 medium runners, and sometimes you expect a few more when you've got everyone having free tire choice, but Spa, the lap time is long. You want those softs in the early stages just to try and break away. Yagswall, Dason, Dougie, all of those drivers who are putting in the top times, week after week. Those who are leading the championship, you want to break away from the rest of the pack if you can. And those 3, if one of them was on mediums, it could cost them a whole host of points here. as they get ready to join up on the grid and ready for lights out.
Of course, welcome in everyone. If you're just tuning in, it is time for Spa. It is time for Spa-Francorchamps, the Belgian Grand Prix Tier 2 racing action. Look at this lineup. Things are very tight. We had a wet qualifying and things were separated by less than a second all the way to 15th position on this grid. And with that, we have a tire strategy, differential in place, 6 drivers on the mediums. And well, George, take us away. It's time to go racing here in Belgium.
Well, here we go. The lights are on here in Belgium. They're not on for the drivers yet, though. We'll see what happens, though. The engines are revving now as we get ready, and it's lights out and away we go here. It's a good start for Dougie Falcons, who's already putting pressure on Dayson down into turn 1. Dayson, though, a little bit later on the brakes. The Aston Martin's still going to try and squeeze his way out the inside. Titan Ash already taking advantage as Sindarko on the slower mediums gets through on the Haas driver up into 4th. Tim's up 2 places in the Aston Martin, and Nazir behind him from 11th all the way up to 8th. Already in the AlphaTauri. Further down the grid, there's a few exchanges. Genji getting past Noel here as the AlphaTauri of Will Gibson. He's up 1. He's looking for 2 now on the Mercedes. They're side by side as they come down towards Lake Common. There's already looking to make it through wide. Who is that? Alex Bitto on the outside, trying to find a way through. Doesn't find it. There's an incident. There's a lot of cars facing the wrong way. There's a huge pile up. That is absolutely monumental. And Azir is out on the left-hand side of the track.
Surely that's a safety car.
Goodness,
surely that is a
huge
safety car. That was a massive concertina through sector 2. That was a massive, massive concertina.
And look at the front 3 strip. I don't know whether it happened right behind them, but they've got a huge gap right now. Judging by the fact that Azir was in there, I imagine it happened somewhere around 7th or 8th. You know, and judging by Yoda, Will Gibson, Alex Bitto getting through, I imagine it was in that sort of low point scoring position. But we haven't got a safety car, surprisingly, as we go down. Pro to go, looking at Sindarko again. These softs looking a lot quicker than the mediums, as you would expect in the earlier stages. Playing the long game, though, is Sindarko in that Haas as they go down towards bus stop. Sindarko covering the inside. Pro to go trying to go as late on the brakes as he can. Doesn't quite find a way to squeeze past. But my oh my, those mediums really weren't the tires you want to start this race on, I don't think.
Drivers trying to push their way into the pit lane right now. Bushy Ant's 13th position. Genji and him having to get out of the way as somebody had to come in there. I think it might have been Psycho, Titan. We have Noel coming in. We'll have to see how many of these drivers have damage. Of course, it's a long race. There's so many opportunities here in Spa. We didn't see any major debris. Pro to go as well on Sindarko. 4th position for the Williams, Yoda and Vincent just behind.
Yeah, Yoda. Both of those moves done very early, and the common denominator, both cars that got overtaken on the medium strip.
Yeah, I was going to say the really tires struggling. Not going to be easy to run through with softs coming in your rearview mirror. Will Gibson, he's looking to pay some... well, he's looking to get Vincent, but he's not going to be doing it like the way we just saw him slide through Sector 2.
Yeah, understeering through full one as well. Struggling a little bit there, Alex Bitto behind him. Both drivers, though, huge amounts of position gained on the opening lap. Given that incident earlier on, they... Oh, well, that's how to drop through the grid. Will Gibson's lost it. No damage on the AlphaTauri, but... he is facing the wrong way and having to wait for all the fast runners to come through. He was up 6 places. He's now back where he started in the AlphaTauri.
Well, very consistent with how some of his races have gone so far, and we've had another issue. Jake on the exit of the Sector 2-3 split seems to have had an issue.
Yoda nearly spun his car out coming out of bus stop as well, Striff, and he loses out to Vincent as a result. He tried to squeeze out the inside of 20 on the inside of Tim. Super late move, very optimistic, and he's lost out a position as a result.
Tim hunting down Kai. Who is that? Sindarko goes very loose coming up Orouge. Yagsol, Dayson moving through into lead of this race as Dougie Falcons watches on, and Yoda on the rear. Vincent Nyquist has Kai and Tim just in front. Tim moves through on Kai. Yoda now around the outside through the inside of Lacombe. Will take the Ferrari.
He'll be annoyed at himself because he could have been taking Kai, and he could be the one sitting in 5th place right now, that Alpine driver. He's, done very well to get back past Vincent there, but had he not cost himself the position in the first place, could be challenging up for the higher points positions. He's now, dancing outside it towards losing DRS. We're on lap 3, so it is enabled now, and it is important here, obviously down into turn 1, and more importantly, down the Camel Straight. That's the real DRS zone that we see lots and lots of moves come about as a result of. But Yoda, he does have a lot of ERS left in the tank, as do most of these drivers, to be honest. Just a lot of them in the top 10, and as well as outside of it, have really done well at managing that battery. Alex Bitto probably one of the lowest, as well as Tim, both sort of struggling. Protogo as well, trying to catch the front 3, but everyone else doing very well right now, not really burning off anything that they don't need to. But the top 3 still 3.2 seconds clear of Protogo, as Tim, and he's just the fastest lap of the race. So maybe that ERS usage was worth it, and he's starting to pull away a little bit, but he won't lose the DRS range to the Alfa Romeo behind, and as such, Kai will just reel him back in down towards Lakon.
Here goes Jagsol Dason. Surely this is going to be another changeover of leadership here, as Dougie Falcons has the front row seats. Vincent Nyquist has retired on track. That's coming up through Eau Rouge, I'm almost positive. It is.
Yeah, he's on the left-hand side.
Wow.
We saw him spin there in qualifying in the wet. I wonder whether...
Well, this hasn't caused a safety car.
Curb.
This hasn't caused a safety car. This hasn't caused a VSC. Dougie Falcons.
Oh, Dougie Falcons.
That's not what you want to see. Oh, no. Dougie getting a little bit sideways there. Cars trying to take evasive maneuvers as he gets back going.
Oh, and he's lost it again. He's spun coming through Fuon. And he'll be kicking himself now as he sits outside of the points. And he was doing so well in P3.
Bad luck there. Bad luck there. Big time for Dougie. Will Gibson picking up a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, the first of the session. First black and white flag next to somebody's name, and picking one up on lap 4 does not bode well. There is still plenty of time in this race, and as well, he's leading a little bit of a train here, so he could drop, especially if these sort of tires start to come in towards the end. But we have the tire right now, well and truly out of the points, and we'll see just how long those softs last for him, because Noel right now giving him a really good push here, and Titan Ash isn't doing too bad on the rear of the Mercedes either. So it could be a lot of pressure coming onto the AlphaTauri, maybe even into the bus stop chicane here. Noel has a huge carrier speed, backs out of it, thinks better of it, as Jagswald Dason, they exchange once more down at the end of the Camel straight into Lakon, and the Williams swoops back into lead of things. Sindaco, Alex Bitto, they do a similar thing. You're starting to see the medium runners fight back a little bit. Sindaco really the only one capable of doing anything right now to dent into Alex Bitto's race, because there's just such a huge gap between Bushiance and the top 8, and Sindaco as well. He hasn't got anything he could do really forwards, because he is catching Kai a little bit right now.
Here goes
By the time he
Titan
does,
Ash.
I think pit stops will come in.
Titan Ash with that DRS in the rear of Noel. Not any battery, well, a little bit of battery utilization. They're on the rear of Will Gibson. Will Gibson pushing off to that outside, trying to give Noel no avenues to push through. And he did a decent job of holding Noel there. We'll have to see how well he's able to hold up through the rest of the lap, as there's a good train you mentioned on the rear of Will Gibson here.
Yeah, and they're on the hards as well. He's not able to tear away anymore. The soft starting to get a bit harsher as Titan Ash picks up a 3-second penalty, and he's in this train, and he's got a lot of speed through Fuon, taps the rear of Noel, and that looked like it was going to send the Mercedes into a spin. Noel's done well to save it. Titan Ash almost rear-ending the Mercedes again. He seems to have a lot more speed through the corners, maybe running a little bit heavier downforce, and that which we should see if Noel tears away here through the fast final sector coming out of 16.
These guys got to be careful with the medium runner. Genji looking quite quick, and we've had an issue. That is Jake. And I don't know what's happened to the Haas, but it has not gone on well. Genji on the rear of Titan Ash. Titan Ash tight to Noel. Are we going to see a move here? There goes Titan Ash around the outside of Noel right now. There's a bit of a tap from the Ferrari onto that back right wheel. The McLaren is all sorts of unsettled, and Genji will get through and drop time to Noel. Wow.
Just a little bit messy there through the bus stop chicane. It's a very tight corner to go through side by side because of the way 20 snaps back to the left so aggressively. We saw it with Yoda earlier. You've seen it with Titan Ash there being on the inside into 20 alongside another car. Never really works out well for the car on the inside, and sometimes not well either cars, but the car on the inside usually will just get rotated around as not. Oh, that was very close.
That was some tight racing right there.
Genji now might have a little look as Noel loses it coming out of 9, and down the inside goes the Ferrari on the medium tires, and he is not going to have to be asked twice to go through that. Very nice little move there from Genji.
That was a very nice move there. Titan Ash looking at Noel now. It was tight. He had a look at that inside. He's still looking to maybe go around the outside. Noel having to position that car in every possible way to hold off this McLaren right now around the outside. Look at this move. Holy, Titan Ash gets it done. Noel looking to get back at him. Genji just in front, just sitting on the rear of Will Gibson as Dayson has come into the pit lane for a bit of an undercut here, and this is very interesting to see. He's gone for the mediums now. We're going to switch on to Genji. Genji pushing Will Gibson. Coming through Blanchimont. We saw a big one here yesterday. Nothing doing right now. No crashes through Blanchimont today just yet, knock wood. And now Genji. Oh, he surely has an opportunity on the rear of this AlphaTauri as Yoda and Protego exchange coming through into Lacombe. Yoda is now into second position. And what's happened to Will Gibson? It looks like he got really caught up there. He might have damage on the front right end of his wing.
Yeah, he does. I don't know whether he's come into contact with any other drivers, but all three that he was fighting with still going pretty strong, and Will's just lost the right end plate there, and that leads me to believe he's sort of spun it, maybe cooked the rears coming out of the final corner and accelerated into the wall. Facing the wrong way. It's the only way I can imagine he's got front right damage into and then hit that wall, unless he did go into the rear of someone that he was fighting and hasn't upset their car. But either way, not good news for the AlphaTauri. We'll see him into the pit lane this lap. Going back to Dayson, like you mentioned, he's going for the undercut, and I think this is a smart move. If he hasn't really got caught up in traffic, he will catch a Desi very soon, but his lap time will be faster. We're already seeing the soft runners start to lose out on pace. Sindaku, he's had great pace at this moment. He got past Alex Bitter. He's been catching Kai over the last few laps. We're seeing Yagswell go through, but Yoda and Protego into the pit lane here. Tim follows. We're going to see Kai come in as well. Alex Bitto stays out as well. Sindaku up to P2 because he's on the mediums. This is where we're going to see if the alternate strategy is worth it. I don't think it will be, because he's still got a 9.4 second gap to Yagswell. And I think that means that the rest of these guys are going to come through by the end of the race. But you never know. If a well-timed safety car comes out, could be his saving grace.
I think this has worked so well for Dayson now within DRS range of a medium runner ahead. Look at this. Look at the speed carry on this Williams.
Yeah, it's what we saw in the early stage of the race with the soft versus the mediums. You cannot compete against fresher tires because they get a better run out of Eau Rouge. You pair that with DRS, ERS, slipstream. It all just culminates into this humongous speed advantage. And speaking of disadvantages, well, who's that? It's Alex Bitto, the Alpine, just sitting on the outside of 11.
I thought there was a perspective angle that I got there that looked very bad with the rejoin, but I think it was all clear.
Yeah, just joined there as Desi went past, just finding that window. I don't think there was anything.
No, I don't think it was bad at all. I think I just had a bad angle on the cameras that made it look
as he has another little snap, and here comes Cotters. There's a yellow flag ahead. It's a Desi himself.
Yeah, a Desi sitting in that McLaren. These cars really starting to struggle, it would seem. Everybody coming unhinged, and there's a yellow popping up through sector 1 for Psycho.
That's Will Gibson, I think, off in Eau Rouge. And right on fresh tires
No
as well.
wing.
He's got no front wing.
No wing on that car at all.
You hate to see it. It's not the first issue he's had. Cotter's going past Alex Bitter. He would have got the move done on track, but it's Bitter into the pit lane. Cotter's on outlet on mediums. He's up into 5th place. The Irishman up 13 places so far in this. So it's a huge race on him so far. Obviously yet to pit though.
Protego on the rear of Yoda, really not going to be happy about the position he's found himself in, as Yoda now pushing Cotters. DRS and utilization, a little bit of battery. I'm just going to breeze by. Protego will be looking for a position as well, but Cotters now in a good section of circuit to put up a little bit of a roadblock, as you say, a rolling roadblock for Yoda to build a gap.
Yeah, I'm surprised to an extent that Protego didn't try and use a little bit more ERS to get on the inside of Cotters. I think he would have been able to make that lunge work had he been just a tad closer, but the pace advantage out of 11. He's going to use the battery now as he pushes to try and find Cotters through full one. Cotters, you can see him just struggling with the tires. The tire wear around here is absolutely horrendous, as Cotters now on the inside trying to defend it, just understeers towards Protego. I don't think that was malicious. Protego won't be a fan of it though, as he's just stuck losing time to the Alfa Romeo. Look at the gap that he is dropping to Yoda. 1.4 seconds right now. Those fresh mediums are absolutely flying, and Protego just wishes he could take full advantages of his, as he's got Tim on his rear, and they've got, Kai not too far behind. Will Gibson calls it in the pit lane. Oh my, this battle in the midfield, very, very tight. Cotter's still ahead, though, as they find their way through the bus-stop chicane. Not his pit window yet, so he's going to tough it out, keep going here on these mediums. Maybe try the one stop, we'll see. Tim has a little look at the inside of Protego into turn 1, just threatening it into lay source, but Protego now, surely up after Eau Rouge. He will have the move on Cotters, who's out of battery as well. The rear light blinking. Bushy and Stason, they exchange up at the front. Here goes Protego, as easy as you like, past on the Alfa Romeo. The question is, does Tim get him as well? Of course he does, and he might just get the Williams as well here. They're going to be side by side down into late comms, and they are the Aston Martin alongside, but just a little bit too much turning from Protego there, I think. It's a bit of a wheel bang, and Tim goes facing the wrong way, spiraling out of control, and the Aston Martin reserve will not be best pleased with that one.
That's a very unfortunate issue to find yourself in. Kai on the rear of Cotters. Yeah, it's tight between these two, and the tire differential is so massive.
Yeah, you expect Kai here to go through. Dougie Falcon's 3-second time penalty here for him, and he's in 9th place right now. That could cost him points at the end of this one, but here we go, the Alfa Romeo. You might even see a little bit of team orders here, but Cotter's only a reserve, but obviously, fond there of the Alfa Romeo squad for the evening, and let's buy Kai pretty cleanly. No problems there for the full-time driver.
Well, Tim pushing through on a Desi there. Fresh tires for him. Things really settling down a little bit. Bushy Ants, 10-lap-old mediums. His starting compound in 3rd position with Dason. Trying to hold that 1 second. He'll have that DRS into Lacombe. It's been a good race. Dougie Falcon's pitting.
Yeah, halfway through. And he really took those softs for quite some time. These mediums will take him to the end. They will feel a little bit ropey at the end, but again, that's just the nature of this track. You could do much longer stints than 11 laps on the mediums, but again, you probably wouldn't want to. Here goes Genji, someone we saw crash out in qualifying. He's going to go past Titan Ash and the McLaren on its mediums versus hards, and the Ferrari going to win that one every day of the week. As things starting to sort of ease off in terms of on-track battling, we've got Titan Ash, Vito pretty close behind him. You expect the Spaniard to find a way through on the McLaren sooner rather than later, but as he just goes a touch wide through 11, it's such a harsh track limit to have The wall is so close on the right-hand side that really it should be almost impossible to pick one up through there. But the game very, very strict on those white lines, and Alex Fytron on the wrong end of that one, struggling in the Alpine. Like you mentioned, it's his first league race, I do believe, of the new release.
Yeah, he
at
hasn't
least
done
in
any
a
racing.
long while, and really struggling. Had a tough time in qualifying, having a bit of a tough time here in the race. But we'll see where he lands up at the end of things. He's up 6 places, obviously taking advantage of that early incident on lap 1, and of course the retirements as well. Both Alpha Tauris out of this one, and the Ferrari of Vincent as well, who's been struggling with consistency. I think it's, let's say, very quick driver, struggling to finish in those high scoring positions that he gets himself into.
Spacing themselves out just a touch. Strategies playing a role. Surprisingly enough, with 3 retirements, we haven't had a safety car, knock wood. Well, maybe not knock wood. Do we want a safety car? I imagine there's a few drivers on this grid that would be happy to see one.
Yeah, and there'd be a couple of drivers and a couple of teams as well that would be unhappy. You look at Red Bull and you look at Williams. They are on for huge point tools here. As Genji and Titan Ash, they exchange, and Titan Ash!
That might just be what... Oh my, that was huge.
How was Bitto's cars okay?
I don't know.
How has Titan Ash come out of that with just an end plate? That is unreal. That crash should be 2 cars out of the race. Safety car every day of the week. As Titan Ash just understeers into the wall, taking Falcons going through. That is absolutely monumental speed for 2 cars to come together at. And they both got off relatively unscathed. Alex Bitto dropping to Knowles. So I wonder whether there's invisible damage on that Alpine. But my goodness, that was an absolutely huge impact there.
Yeah, it was a big shunt. Big shunt there. And Bitto, you can see he's taken damage. He has taken... There's no way he hasn't taken damage. Dougie just breezes through on him. Bitto knows there's nothing he can do.
That front wing has to be scuffed somewhere. But he didn't get hit on the front wing, really. The car went into the side of him. I'm also surprised a wheel didn't fly off, but... Well, he's into the pit lane. I would not be surprised if this is a wing change, but we'll see what happens. For Spaniard, Bushiance, Yagswol, the 2 Red Bulls exchange up at the front, and you expect that with Bushiance, 12-lap old mediums, his teammate, 10-lap fresher tyres. And we'll see here whether the overcut works for Yagswol. We saw Daisy come in very early. It's given him a gap to the Red Bull, but we're seeing tyre wear play a major role in this race. 3 laps younger tyres, that could very much be beneficial in the closing stages. Yagswol is catching right now, does have a bit of a tyre advantage, a bit of an ERS disadvantage, and Dason is behind Sindarko, getting held up a little bit by the Haas, who is currently leading things. But he's on 12-lap old mediums. And here we go. I think we're going to see the Williams go through now on the Haas driver. It's going to be close. Sindarko right now holding and carrying enough speed down this rear straight, and it's close between the 2, and Dason just backs off a little bit, then comes a little bit later on the brakes, surprisingly maybe looking for something out of the final corner, but...
Yeah, Eggs is here now. It's really been spoiled for Dason.
Yeah, the strategy's just been completely unraveled. Because whatever way you look at it, they're both going to get through on Sindarko here, because they're going to have so much more pace than the Haas throw Rouge. As Alex Bitto is off again. The Alpine, again, no visible damage, but those softs will not be feeling good just out of coming out of the pit lane. Now a spin, here we go. For leader things though, Dason gets thrown Sindarko easily. What happens with the Red Bull? He finds the Haas, and usually this sort of overspeed just carries you through. Doesn't get close enough to Dason, but he is going to be able to stick with him pretty easily because Dason's tyres, 4 laps time, they're going to start feeling a bit bad, and Yagswol, they'll have 3 laps at least.
Bushy Ants.
But they feel better.
Very fresh softs to the end now, of course, for Bushy Ants. He will take a position on Tim with absolute ease into Lacombe, and Bushy Ants, knock wood, gonna get himself into some good points today after a couple of unfortunate races the last few trips out. We saw him in the Netherlands. He was involved in that massive collision on the safety car restart.
Yeah, you don't want to be part of that. One thing as well, the softs here to the end, they're really going to feel awful at the tail end of this campaign. For Bushians, I don't think it's going to be too bad, but for the likes of Connors, for the likes of Alex Bitter, for the likes of Jake, they're just trying to catch up, I think. But really, I feel like the mediums are a better gamble and hope for a safety car just to get you some track position, maybe. But they're so far behind that really it would be difficult. Connors is on the rear of Noel, might find a couple of places late in this race. As Sindako, he pits out of third. We saw Bushy Ants come in last lap. Where is the undercut going to put him? You expect him to come through here. As the Haas coming into the pit box now, and Bushy Ants already charging down the start-finish straight, and he will get the position. Is that lap, though, going to be critical in terms of tyre wear at the end of things? I think it just might be. There's Bushy Ants. Sindako drops to Tim as well. If he gets through a Rouge nicely, the Aston Martin might drop off to the Haas down into Les Combes. Given the DRS, there it is. Yeah, look at the speed difference already before the rear wing opens. The rear wing opens now. Tim just pulls off to the inside, knows there really isn't anything he can do to stop the Haas coming through. Lets him bite, no problems. And the Aston Martin reserve just slots down into 8th. Sindako, though, up to 7th.
Here goes Cotters with a supercharged move on the softs. He pushes through on Noel.
Yeah, nice move from him. He needs to make use of these softs now. Like I said, they will die off a lot before the end of this one. And he needs to get past Lucky Falcons, and he needs to get into that 10th slot and then just build a gap. I doubt he will score higher than 10th. Unless, of course, you know, crashes, etc. Genji in the same place we saw him crash in qualifying.
That is huge. Oh, my God. Genji now. Say it isn't so. That is exactly what you said. Right where we saw it in qualifying. Titan Ash will give us a look. It's the exact same place.
Yeah, he's a little bit on the grass compared to where he was fully on the track.
No safety car.
But, yeah, the car was at least half on the track. The rear wheel was really sticking out, you know, part of the engine as well. You expect that to be a safety car, but again, I guess having a day off, we've seen a couple of incidents that really should have caused one. Cotters does get past the Aston Martin and Dougie Falcons coming through Blanchimont, and the Alfa Romeo now needs to build a gap. Dougie does have a penalty. Knowles on 12 lap old hards. He should be able to build the gap he needs to the end of the race to score that 1 point as a reserve here in tier 2. But points still very, very impressive, and I'm sure the Irishman will be happy with a point scoring finish, as we now have 4 retirements, but retirements from only 2 teams. Both the Avatars, both the Ferraris will not score in this one.
Yeah, the 2 teams they call the Scuderia, AlphaTauri and Ferrari, not going to be happy with the result of this race.
Titan Ash is dropping fastest lap after fastest lap. That's his 2nd in a row, I do believe. And those fresh mediums really trying to push this. There's a problem. It's an Aston Martin, it looks like. Is that Tim? It is Tim. So off where we saw Bitto have an issue earlier. This time the Aston Martin really struggling to get it turned around. He puts it in reverse, holds the brakes there, but Noel's got straight into the rear of him. And you can't really blame Tim for that one, considering the 2 cars ahead of Noel found their way through. And Tim picks up a 5-second penalty for a severe collision, but Noel just not reacting in time, and that's race over for Swede. As Tim looking to come back past him now, but Noel not having any of it. The injured Mercedes, though, forced to concede the place through the twisty section of Sector 2. Very, very unfortunate incident late in the race. 17 of 22 for the leaders.
Sindako, Bushy Ants, both on the fresh softs right now. Both with 3 seconds in time penalties right now, and it's going to be an absolute duel between these 2, I feel. Given some of the pace they've shown, Sindako very sidewards as he comes up out of the hill there. You can see that DRS run. There's not a lot in it for Bushy Ants without that rear wing wide open coming down a straight like Kemmel, that's to say the least. And Nadezi will come out now on fresh softs. Just outside the points paying positions as well.
It took those mediums for a very, very long stint, and we'll see whether he can catch up. I expect him, especially at least on penalties, to get past. Obviously, Tim, I think he'll overtake on track, but maybe even Dougie Falcons by the end of the race. It would be a pretty hard, fought battle, but given the 3 seconds for the Aston Martin, given the softs versus the mediums, and we saw it in the early stages of the race, tires should drop off about similar times as well, so I think it's possible for Adesi to catch up into that 3-second window. Here's Tim. Depends how much this Aston Martin holds Adesi up as to whether he'll get the other. Yagswall, Dayson are back to going wheel to wheel.
Desi has to drop off Tim here as we come down the hill. That could have been touch and go should he have sent it, and now we'll have to jump back to Mr. Yagswell and Dayson, because surely this is going to be an exchange, as Yagswell within half a second, utilizing a bit of battery on exit out of turn 1, is going to be looking at our race leader. Things are tight, of course, between Adesi and Tim. Do we see it before the chicane? I think so. Look at this now. Not a lot that Tim can do here against fresh softs like this. Is it ever tight? Is it ever close? But it's going to be a move through for the McLaren into 10th position. And back to Yags and Dayson. Dayson holding through Lacombe. Wait a minute. Biddo's crashed. Alex Biddo in the Williams is out of this race, and he has crashed in the middle of circuit, and that is a full-blown safety car deployment on lap 17.
Yeah, Noel will be happy. He reacted to that one. That car completely blocking the track. Again, same place we saw him have an incident in qualifying. Obviously not on this scale, but he tapped that wall coming out of 16 in qualifying. He then crashed later on down between 18 and 19, but really struggled there in his first league race in the new game. A late safety car. Do we see Jason and Yagswell pit? They've got a bit of a gap behind.
They have to pit here.
I think,
they're going to lose a
right.
bit, I think, but it's such a tough call. I mean, everyone behind them surely pits.
Cotters.
They're all right. They're all right.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of position gain. Cotters too far back, but Bushiance and Sindaco, where do they end up? The penalties. 3 seconds. That's going to cost them. But in terms of track position, they're going to be very, very nicely done here. But their tires will die out at the end of the race, so I don't think it's going to cost them too much. Dayson's in. Yagswell's in. Like you say, I think they really
all
have
the
their
medium
hands
runners are coming
here.
in. I'd be shocked. I mean, Protego, he's staying out, and I think this at this stage of the race, and we don't say it often, is actually maybe the right call here.
Well, you need to get double stacked behind Dayson, so I can understand where that decision comes from. Seems a little risky, of course, staying out when the soft runners will inevitably come. As Dayson comes out P4 right behind Bushy Ants, and Bushy Ants is going to want to help his teammate Yagswell out as much as possible here. I don't think he'll have much of an opportunity to do so, but it depends. How many laps do we get green flag?
I think we get one. I think we get one, maybe two, but
it's going to be
no
very
DRS.
short.
No DRS, which is going to play a role, and wow. What an interesting race this has really turned out to be. We were questioning at this point whether the safety car had even been enabled with some of the incidents that we had seen. And then for the unfortunate retirement of Alex Biddo, and I mean, I think out of all the retirements, his car was in the most dangerous location on track. We have the safety car deployed here, and we're following it on lap 19. Everybody coming, well, majority of drivers have come in now. Some drivers really are going to get hurt by this with the 3-second time penalties.
I'm just worried about where Protego falls to. That's a dangerous looking grid behind him. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cars on fresh softs, brand new softs against 10 lap old mediums. We saw fresh softs versus fresh mediums in the opening laps, and for the first 4 laps, it was night and day different. The mediums stood no chance. We're going to have a maximum of 2 laps or 3 laps if it come in now, but I don't think it will, of green flag racing. He is going to be dead in the water compared to these other tires. Bushy and Sindaku, their tires will die out at the end, but even they should have a pace advantage on the Williams right now. If they can get through early, they're just going to feed Protego to the sharks of Dayson, Yagswell, Yoda, Kai. They are all just going to come through and attack with everything. And Protego and his Williams, Dayson might be able to do something, but really, he cannot help his teammate too much. He's got to focus on winning this race. He's got to get through the 2 cars in front of him. But what else could you do if you're pro to go? Otherwise, you just get put in that middle, especially down in, you know, P8, P9 with a double stack on the softs, and you'd have to fight your way through to more points. So it's a real gamble for the Williams. We are going to go round again, but it's a very tough position to be in. I think the only thing he can hope for is a bit of a repeat of lap 1, where a lot of cars come off behind, and that gives him a bit of breathing space. But obviously no one else in this grid will be planning on that happening.
We're going to go green on lap 21. We're going to have 2 laps to the end. Penultimate lap and final lap. Green flag. No safety cars will play a role.
And I'm so surprised this is our first safety car.
Yeah, I am as well. I really am. And it came at a time where it really throws a curveball for everybody who's worked hard in these races.
Yeah, and you've still got, you know, both the Williams, both the Red Bulls in those high-scoring positions, both the Alfa Romeos as well. They're up in the points, not quite as high, of course, but 7th and 8th would really not be a bad finish. I expect Connors to maybe drop a position or 2, at least on those older softs. 5 laps. A pretty, you know, hefty chunk of their usefulness will have been used up in those first few laps. Obviously, one of those now under safety car conditions, but still very, very difficult for him. We're on lap 20. We will go green on 21. And like you mentioned, no DRS. 15 drivers left, 5 out. And it's going to be a 2-lap shootout to the end. This is, you know, what has bred some very, very entertaining finishes in the past, Shift. We said this race was going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
And well, this safety car is going to make the finish spectacular in whatever way it falls.
Well, it's been a very dynamic race. We thought maybe, oh, we're going to get some rain. We saw rain in qualifying. We come through out of qualifying. We get these overcast conditions, dry conditions forecast. We have 5 drivers out of the race. No safety cars until that 16th car on the timing tower there, Mr. Alex Bitto, retired here on lap 18. And now we have the confirmation. It's going to be 2 laps of racing to the end. Everybody has caught things up. Penalties in it for a few drivers. There's going to be some drivers here that have net good positions or that have been able to kind of come back after some slip-ups, some mistakes.
And the safety car at restart here is very interesting because of the bus stop chicane. Protogo waiting here, but he's keeping this field at a pretty high pace. Usually you see it drop off, but I expect him now to just floor it out of the bus stop chicane, put as much of a break in this grid as he can. This is going to help his teammate as well, who's got a 5-second penalty for a collision with Yagswal. That presumably
they both took
will
one.
get removed, as neither one looks damaged at all. It's just going to be a light tap in bus stop. It's a glitch, hopefully, that gets remedied. Here goes Yoda. He's very close to the rear of the Red Bull. I'd be surprised if we didn't see this Sindako as well on the Williams. We're already seeing those mediums be a real blight to Protogo, and he just loses out there. Bushians hasn't had the best restart. Dason not able to take advantage. Titan Ash, Knoll exchange. Yoda gets Yagswal, as well as a little bit of tap to the rear of the Alpine from the Red Bull as he comes through, but nothing either driver will be worrying about.
Dougie Falcon's trying to push through a Desi in front of him right now. Dougie Falcon's showing great grip in comparison. He's on the fresher rubber. Cotter's in front on the very old softs. Dougie with a penalty. Doesn't care about the penalty. He just wants to push through this grid. We're going to jump to Dason, who's very tight to the rear of Bushiants. Bushiants again. He's on the older softs as well. We're on the penultimate lap of this race. Everything's in it for everybody right now. There is nothing left in this race. We have 1 lap. We have 1 lap after we come out of here. What's happened? Noel Carlman has had an issue, and he's staring at Titan Ash in the McLaren. Back to Dason. Dason watching Bushiants tight to the rear of Protogo. Oh, look at this. Bushy Ants. Look at this. He's heavily exposed right now. Protego, however, isn't making things easy for his teammate. Bushy Ants is actually going to slot through into second position as we come through. Here's Dason around the outside through the bus stop chicane. Back to the inside now for Dason. Does he take this Red Bull through the chicane? My oh my. Yes, he does. What a move coming out of the Brit. Beautiful, beautiful running there.
Oh, and Yoda as well, so coming out of La Source. What a move here from the Alpines just to get this one done so we can stick with the two drivers ahead and, you know, get past Bushy Ants quickly. He'll be hoping. Bushy Ants, though, pushing on Dason, both using ERS, but the slipstream, we may not have DRS, but you still get that bonus of being behind someone. There's a three-way battle behind. Dason holding on to P2 and everyone else holding station behind them, as well as a yellow flag. The McLaren of Titan Ash has spun around coming through a Rouge, but my oh my, this battle for the front points is as Yagswell dives at the inside of Protego here. The medium runner really struggling, trying to hold on the inside. He's dropped down to 6th, and if he can hold on, the penalties might just bring him back up through this grid. Obviously, some of them might get removed depending on what happened between Yagswell and Dason in that final corner on the safety car restart, but right now, one thing is for sure, Striff, it's a sea of blue in the top 6.
It really is a sea of blue, and right now Dougie Falcons is trying to dispatch Cotters very tight, less than 2/10 the gap. Kai and the other Alfa Romeo holding off right now. Well, actually, he's pushing Protego. He's trying to dent that sea of blue, as you said, and he has just done so. Or has he? 13-lap old mediums versus, of course, the softs. Man, oh man. He gets that move done just behind Dougie Falcons, looking at the Alfa Romeo, but it's almost time to look at the front of things. Man, this race is so crazy. Sindaco de Legnano getting the race win. Yoda will take it. Yoda will take it across, and man, look at the penalties dropping. It's Yoda, Sindaco, Kai are top 3 here in Spa.
That is unbelievable, Striff. Stewards are going to have their work cut out untangling that mess, but driver of the day, deservedly so, goes to Yoda. What a drive from the Alpine. Keeps himself penalty free, and as such finds himself on the top step, enjoying that podium from 14th on the grid. What a drive from the Alpine there. They will be absolutely, you know, thrilled with that performance there. Sindaco, 4th the second. His safety car restart, you really can't fault it. 3-second time penalty ultimately costing him the win there, but still, you know, great restart, kept everyone behind, got through the traffic when he needed to, dispatched the Williams of Pro to go nice and quickly. And Kai as well, 7th to 3rd, again, you know, penalty free. That's kept him, you know, keeping himself clean, has just promoted him onto the podium here. Obviously, again, stewards are going to have to untangle what's happened as some of the penalties, but right now, the podium, very, very deserving, you know, for various reasons, Striff.
Yeah, it's a huge shakeup of this grid, of course. You look at this podium, Yoda, Sindaco, Kai. We're going to hear from our top 3 in just a moment, and Yoda, I think, is going to be ecstatic to be in the interview room after what's been an up-and-down start to his season. But what a race it's been here for Spa. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. We saw so much racing, and it was so much racing until that safety car right at the end, and then a little bit more intensity to follow after that. And I really enjoyed it, and I think Tier 1 tomorrow has a big bar to kind of to reach or surpass after all of the great races we've seen this week.
Yeah, absolutely. That one, you know, late drama. I said the finish was going to be spectacular, and we saw it was going to be safety car, you know, 2 laps to the end, and they always do provide those sort of interesting, exciting finishes, and we see that now, and we're going to get some interviews going here with hopefully all of the top 3. And first to join us, of course, is Mr. Kai.
Hello.
The Alfa Romeo. How is it going, Kai?
Yeah, what a race. Pretty fun the whole time. Lucky at the end with the safety car because the soft runners were really catching me, but yeah.
It was a thrilling race.
This...
Absolutely thrilling race. Unicorn, no, go ahead. I just wanted to tell him it was a great race to see him in that Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you mentioned the safety car restart. I think, you know, after what we've just watched, we have to just go straight to that. Obviously, the tyres there. Yours was slightly older. You stayed out, took the track position. You got past Protego in that Williams on the old mediums. and he just held up the rest of the field behind him. There was a bit of a battle there, and you just had that gap. Were you confident that you could keep Jason behind? We were watching that battle. Both of you had maxed out your ERS deployment on that final lap. Or were you worried going into bus stop on that final lap that he was going to come through and snitch this win from you?
Wait, just to confirm, I was P3, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. Apologies. I'm getting everyone mixed up. I'm completely. Yeah, you know what? That's completely wrong. That question is completely wrong.
Unicorn.
I'm gonna let you take it.
Unicorn.
I'm very flustered right now.
No, Unicorn's just enjoying the end of the race. No, Kai, it was a great drive in the end. Penalties playing a role. Do you have any issues, any fear that penalties being removed for some of these drivers may cost you a position here today? We saw some interesting penalties come through. Dason took a 5-second. Yagsul took a 5-second. It was a very intense finish. Of course, you took the P3. It was an amazing drive. How does it set you up for Monza? That's one question. How does it set you up for Monza? But the second question is, are you fearful that any penalties may come through and jeopardize it?
Yeah, penalties getting removed is a bit scary, but hopefully still good points for the team in the end. But yeah, for Monza, yeah, it's a track that I like. It's good fun, but some of the curbs send you in the air, and that's a bit scary. But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to interview. Congratulations on the P3. It was a great drive. Conditions in qualifying less than ideal, and you stuck it through where some other drivers weren't able to. We had a number of retirements as well, so congratulations. Do you have any messages for the viewers?
Yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, hope to see them in Monza.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kai.
Bye.
All right, that was Kai, everybody, in his interview, our third place finisher. Now joining us, it will be, of course, the Italian Mr. Sindaco. Congratulations on a very hard-fought race, all things said and considered. A couple of shaky moments in that car today. We saw you getting a little bit loose on the older tires, but P2 in the end, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. Good to be back on the podium.
Yeah, good
Was
race.
a while. Yeah, unfortunately, I did a very stupid mistake because I had a 3-second penalty. I got three warnings in the whole race, but I mean, one warning was just completely unfair. But I forgot to take the screenshot of the race director, so that's it.
I see. Now
Yeah,
next week is a
it
big race
happens.
for you. You have a big race next week. How are you looking coming off of a P2 for a race like Monza?
Yeah, I don't know. Basically, I have zero feeling with this game, so I take every race one at a time and hope to do a good one. This one was crazy. I had to avoid like 10 incidents left, right, and center all the time.
Yeah, there was a
I
lot
almost
of that.
lost it 3 times at Eau Rouge, and at the end the safety car helped me. But without the safety car, I think I could have got maybe P4, probably because I was catching the cars in front, so would have been a good race anyway.
Well, congratulations on a great race. Unicorn, do you have any questions for Sindaco?
Well, Sindaco, obviously, great race here. You just mentioned you're sort of struggling to get to grips with the new game, but next week Monza, like Striff mentioned, big race, of course, because I believe it is your home Grand Prix. Does that sort of motivate you to practice just that little bit more to try and get the best result you can, or is it just like every other weekend, just go in and try? The same strategy as always.
As every race, I'm going to practice whenever I get the opportunity. It's those are quite a busy. Those weeks are quite busy for me, so I'm trying to get some practice in, and let's see how it goes. It depends. I'm going to try as hard as I can to find some time and have some practice, and let's give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sindaco, congratulations on the podium, and we'll see you next week for your home GP.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care, Sindaco. All right. That was Sindaco now joining us for an interview, and it's been a little while. It's been quite a while since we've heard from this man right here. It is well, the flag was wrong, by the way. It's Mr. Yoda, and he is wanting to represent the Albanian flag, if I'm not mistaken, but they haven't yet put it in the game after his many times of pushing for it. Maybe after a race win today, maybe. You've had
Maybe
several.
after a race win.
You've had
Yeah.
several. They haven't done it yet, but
The race winning hasn't worked.
race winning hasn't worked. Everyone, of course, if you're
It
not
hasn't
familiar, this is Yoda, our race winner, and of course, 14th position starting for you. I want to ask you a quick question before I get into your race summary. What
Yeah.
time today did you realize you had the race?
Today I actually did realize it a bit earlier. It wasn't like 15 minutes prior to the race, thank God.
Yeah,
So at least I managed to get a setup for today's race, and that I guess that kind of helped out.
definitely.
I really struggled in the rain. I think today was my first day driving in the rain on this game. And when the race came, the car just came alive, and especially going up at the end of the straight, the outside line was so good for me. Just braking late and taking those positions, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looked like a very fun race from a perspective of the driver. There was a lot of overtaking, especially you. You had some good moves there. You had some great opportunities. The safety car came through in the end. What was the thought process as soon as that safety car was struck? Because it came late, and I think everybody had maybe abandoned the idea of it coming.
Yeah, that safety car was a little scary for me because I was sitting behind Dason and Jags. I think they had a bit more pace than I did today. I couldn't catch up, so I was content with third. But then when the safety car came out, I thought my podium was just gone. But I had to pit, otherwise I would just be a sitting duck, even if it was just for 2 laps. After making so many overtakes, I thought I didn't want to be on the other end of it. I might as well pit. And it worked out at the end. I came out behind Jag and Dason again, and Jag got a bad exit, I would say, out of turn 1, which really helped me get close, get in that slipstream, and get a move done again through the outside, which was a lot of fun. That line was so strong today. I don't know why, but it was working great.
Wow, it was a great race. Unicorn, any questions for Yoda before we wrap things up tonight?
Well, Yoda, you mentioned, that you've got, the setup here helped you, and obviously having that in your hands, obviously, has gifted you, a race win at the moment. And, you've been struggling a little bit, only a few points here and there throughout the season so far. Does this win, with the setup, the little bit more preparation that it sounds like you've had, change your attitude going forward, that maybe if, put on a little bit more work, I'm on pace with the top guys here and, could feasibly be winning races every week? Or is it just, the same going forward as it was into Monza and beyond?
It's definitely a motivator, but the biggest problem is time, and it's something that's out of my hands. But it's definitely a motivator to try and put a little bit more time into the game, because the potential is there.
It was a great race.
Yoda, congratulations. Absolutely. And, love to see you back on the podium in the top spot, and some huge points for Alpine as well. I'm sure they're all, thrilled with your performance here tonight, and we'll see how you go at Monza. And as always, thank you for taking the time to interview with us as well.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Yoda. Any messages for the viewers quick before we sign off?
Thanks for watching, guys. Tune in again next week. Monza, I might win again. I might take someone out. I don't know. We'll come and find out.
All right. Thanks, Yoda, and congratulations.
Bye.
That was Yoda, everybody, our race winner tonight, and that is it for tonight's broadcast. That was a nice little sign-off message, I have to say. I might win next week. I might take someone out. We'll see. You have to come find out. I like that a lot. You definitely have to come find out. Tomorrow, you have to come find out about Tier 1 action. Unicorn and I will be back for the best on offer here in the Misfits Racing League, as the Champions Division has unfortunately been closed out for the rest of the season. There's more information about that on Twitter and in the Discord. There's an announcement. But of course, tomorrow, Tier 1 racing action. We're back. It's going to be a great time. I thoroughly enjoyed commentating this race, Unicorn. Thank you for joining me. Everyone in the stream, my name's Stryfium. Anything from you, Unicorn, before we wrap things up and head out?
Yes, Jeff, as always, a pleasure to commentate alongside you. What a brilliant race that was, as you said earlier. Sets a high bar for Tier 1, as it always does. And, well, 9 times out of 10, Tier 1 usually delivers. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow night. And We hope you all join us for that. But until next time, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.